Hey kids, here we are back for another chapter here of the Chaplains and Clergy of the Revolution by J.T. Headley. And I don't know about you, but I'll tell you what, I think it's been an exciting read for me. I've just been, continuing to be excited about it. And we will have this available, and I will get it to you all on a thumb drive, as I promised, when we get it all finished. And it'll be that whole video and audio recording. And we will make it available to others too if they want it. So here we go on to chapter 36 is John Rogers, and it's not a very long chapter. So let's see what Mr. Headley had to say about him. His reputation abroad, his patriotism, introduction to Washington, chaplain in Heath's Brigade, resigns and goes to Georgia. On his return, made chaplain to the New York Provincial Assembly, becomes a member of the Legislature, Chancellor of the Regents of the University. Wow, this guy, he goes abroad. He works with Washington, General Washington. Interesting. He ends up becoming a part of the New York, or we'll see which assembly, but he was at least a chaplain for the New York Provincial Assembly. So that was their first assembly after becoming a state independent. So let's go ahead and continue on with what we have here from Mr. Headley. As I remarked in a previous chapter, the career of some of the chaplains, like that of many of the officers, was marked by striking events, while the history of others has perished with them and their immediate descendants. There are others, also, whose patriotic efforts and sacrifices are known only as general facts, but not sufficient details have been preserved to make any extended biography. Of this class was John Rogers of Boston, who was so honored even in Europe for his talents and learning that in 1768 he received the degree of Doctor of Divinity from the University of Edinburgh. From the commencement of the Revolution, his whole heart was given to the cause of the colonies, and all the aid which his great abilities and exalted positions enabled him to furnish was cheerfully rendered. Before hostilities had actually commenced, he, with several other clergymen, had a weekly prayer meeting in behalf of their country, and strong supplications ascended to the throne of grace that in the conflict which they clearly foresaw to be inevitable, God would give victory to the oppressed colonies. These meetings were kept up until those composing it were compelled to flee before the approaching enemy. When Washington, on the 19th of April, took possession of New York for its defense, Dr. Rogers, with several other gentlemen, called to pay him their respects. Washington received him with marked attention, and when he took his leave, followed him to the door and remarked that persons in Philadelphia had mentioned him as one who could render him important service, and asked if he would allow him to apply to him for information whenever he desired. The doctor assured him that he would gladly do anything that lay in his power to serve him and his country. Washington did often consult him afterwards, and found him an ally not only devoted to his country, but gifted with rare intelligence and foresight. In May 1776, having been appointed chaplain in Heath's Brigade, he removed his family to Greenfield, Connecticut, where they could be out of danger, and then returned to the army and entered on the duties of his office. In the autumn, having private business to transact in Georgia, he resigned his chaplaincy. In April the next year, as he was returning north, he was informed that he had been elected chaplain to the New York State Convention, then in session at Esopus. Paying a flying visit to his family in Greenfield, he crossed over to New York State and entered on his duties, which he continued to perform till the power of the state was lodged in a council of safety, when he served as chaplain in that body. He brought his family on to Esopus and remained there till it was burned by the British, when he removed to Sharon, Connecticut. He afterwards became a member of the Legislature and served for 3 successive years. At the close of the war, he was enabled to return to his congregation in New York City, but found the parsonage burned to the ground and the sanctuary in ruins. The vestry of Trinity Church, with generous liberality, offered him the use of St. George and St. Paul's churches till the other place of worship could be erected, and he preached alternately in them through the winter. The subject of one of his first discourses after his return to the city was, quote, "The divine goodness displayed in the American Revolution," end quote, which was published. When the legislature established the Board of Regents of the university, he was chosen Vice Chancellor and held that office till his death in May 1811, in the 84th year of his age.